Hello, this is Lisa in Imagination Sisterhood Studio, and today I am going to be sharing how to make a mini journal that looks like a tea bag. So this was inspired by a project by Natasha from Treasure Books. Mine is different, but the idea came from her project. So I've got everything all laid out, so this video shouldn't be too long. I don't have measurements because it's just not that kind of project. It's kind of, you're going to kind of have to feel your way. All right. So I have some tea paraphernalia here, that ephemera that I've kind of scrounged around, and I have some tea bag papers, and I thought I would make my tea bag journal out of this really pretty paper that it's just from Joann's and Michael's. It's just a standard paper, but it's on that nice brown paper, and it's got that, I don't know, earthy look to it, whatever it is, I don't know. Anyway, so that's the piece that I used. This is a 12-inch piece, and mine is, and I did not measure this ahead of time, I just kind of eyeballed it. Mine is 3.5-inch wide by 12. Okay, and what I did to start this project, so I can recommend that you do this, is I started with a plain piece of paper. This is actually 8.5 by 11, so it wasn't really the right size, but anyway. And I just started folding it till I got the shape and the size and everything that I wanted, all right? So I knew that I wanted this because this is the shape of the top of a tea bag, so I just cut the corners off. But I also wanted this, I thought it would be really clever to have the top, and of course you don't have to do it this way, to have the top fold over and then tie a string through there, and then that would hold the tea bag, you know, the little tea bag tag, and it would also hold the journal closed. So I thought that would be a cute idea. So that's how I designed this. You could just do it like this, you know, just tea bag shape without this, and it's a lot easier to figure out the measurements for that. The next thing I did was I knew that I wanted it folded like a tea bag, so I folded it in half. If you're using this, it's not going to be half, so I don't know how to tell you how to measure this. This is about, let's see, this is about 3/4 of an inch higher than the one side, okay? And I did that so that I can fold it over and have that tab. If you don't want the tab, then you're just going to fold it in half. All right, so I folded it this way, cut off the ends, and then I knew that I wanted it to fold like a tea bag. So I wanted to have a square bottom. So once I did the center fold, then I just folded it up about 1/2 inch from the bottom, flip it over, and fold it 1/2 inch from the bottom, and that will give you the equidistant folds so that it ends up closing like a tea bag. Okay, this is the shape you're going for. You don't have to do all the folds. You can just make it round. It really, you don't have to make it harder than it is. I just did it that way. All right, so once I got this shape, then I took it to my 12 by 3 3/4 piece of paper, and then I just traced the ends on it. All right, so I did this end this way, and then I moved this end all the way up to here and cut those off, and that gave me this shape. Okay, and you can see here where I marked where I got a pencil mark there. This is where this matches. Even the sides match. So that, and that's going to fold over. All right, so that's my tea bag. Okay, the next thing I did was collect all my papers, and I tea stained papers because I wanted this to be all about tea. So I just have a variety of sizes and shapes of papers in here. I've got it clipped together because I have it all ready to bind. I did do a page in here which is kind of fun. I hate to unclip this, but I took a tea bag and made it into a fold out and a pocket. So I'll show you once we get that bound. I'll show you what that looks like because that was really fun, very easy. This is a page from a book about tea, so I was able to bind that into there. I did some texture papers. I have a stamp. So I just did a bunch of odds and ends of papers, but these are all tea stained, which I thought was really fun. This is actually a cover from a can of tea, and I just thought it was beautiful. And I kind of used that color as the color for this. So if I'm adding color, I'm adding these really, really rich, reddy oranges. All right, so we are ready to bind. Once you get your papers, you're going to cut them just about the same size. Mine are the same size. You can do them a little bit shorter if you want. You definitely want them about a 1/2 inch shorter. Let's do it this way. You definitely want it about a 1/2 inch shorter than the top because you want to be able to fold it over and close it. So don't make them this long. Make them 1/2 inch below this cut. Okay, so that's how big my papers are. Here's the fold. Here's the cut. Here's how long my papers are. Okay, so I'm all ready. I've punched my holes. I'm only doing a 2-hole binding because it's so small, and I'm hoping that's going to be sufficient. I have taken some embroidery thread, and I did use a little wax on it. I have some clump of beeswax here. This is a friend of mine who's a beekeeper, and I just kind of run it over there so that it all sticks together. Sometimes if you use embroidery thread, it kind of separates. So I like to run a little wax, a little candle. You don't have to use beeswax, but that way all the threads stick together. So it works really nice. And I am just going to use a regular embroidery needle and thread this little puppy in here. If I can find the end that's kind of gluey. The other ends are kind of soft and they're going to spread. And of course, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. It also makes it easier to thread because all the threads are stuck together. And we are ready to bind. And I am going to, so this is all lined up and ready to go. And this is, I want this to be the front, and this is my front. So I'm going to stick it this way, and my holes, see my holes line up. There's my holes there, my holes here. And I'm just going to go in from the inside, and my holes already are not lining up, which I was afraid. There we go. And stick it in here. And I'm going to hold on to my thread to make sure it doesn't pull out. And I'm going to go in here. And then I'm going to go in here. This is like a 2-second journal once you get your papers together. It took me a while to get the papers together. And of course, I had to stop and dye the papers tea colored. So that took a while. But really putting this together is really fast and really cute, I think. All right. And I'm going to pull it tight. And I can take my clips off now. Make sure I got this in the right way. That's my front. That's my front. All right. And I'm just going to tie this in a square knot, which is, let me show you a square knot in case you don't know what a square knot is. You have to use a square knot when you're tying your signatures because if you use any other kind of knot, it'll slip and come loose. So you're going to take, a square knot is you're going to take your right hand and cross the thread over that way. And you're going to take your left hand and cross it over top. All right. Oops, I'm going to do it the other way. Left hand first. Left hand, right over left. So this is right hand string over left hand string and tie it in a knot. Okay. And now we're going to do left over top of the right. So it's right over left, left over right. And you just tie the knot. And that way it can't slip and it can't come undone. And that is the magic square knot. And I'm even going to leave those hang because I'm going to put some tags on there, I think. I'm going to make it fun. All right, so I am going to cut these off a little bit just to get them out of the way. All right, so basically our journal is complete. You can do whatever you want with it from there. Let me show you this fun page that I did with the tea bag. So I took 2 tea bags and a tag, and this opens up, and this is a tea bag that I actually used for tea, but it's got a pocket, and I'll stick something in there. But I thought that worked really well. I covered up the back of the first tea bag with washi tape, and I used the tags to cover up the little flange because this is from this page, and this page was a little wide. So I just covered up the bits with a tag. All right, that's the only, nothing else different fun in there. All right, so we're all done. Now I always like pockets. Gotta have pockets in my journals. I have this adorable pocket. I glued this little lady on it because it's kind of got a Victorian theme to it. I got this little lady, and so I want to put her on here. This pocket came out of a kit from Pink Monarch Prints. Always like to give credit for really cool ephemera, and this came with one of their subscription kits, and it had lots of pockets like this, and I really liked the shape of it, and it is the perfect fit for this. So I'm putting a pocket in here right on that fold. You can put it a little above the fold. And I had to cut it down just a tiny bit to make sure it fit. So it's in front of that fold. All right, and that way we know it can still fold up and down. We're going to go around the other side, and I cut one from that pattern, so I have one that's exactly like it, just out of the paper that the cover is. I tried to find something else more interesting, but couldn't find anything, so this is what I'm getting. I wanted to try to keep this project really simple, so it's really just about how cute it is to make it look like a tea bag. All right, and that goes in there. Again, a little bit above the fold. If you have a fold, if you don't have a fold, don't worry about it. All right, and now we are ready to finish up our cover. And so on the cover, I wanted to do a little collage. So I have a bunch of bits here that I'm using for my collage. I have a tea bag. This is actually a description of the tea that I have the wrapper from. And I have, this is a beautiful floral arrangement. It looks like a tea. It has a whole bunch of alphabet letters that are all done out of flowers, but this one's a tea. And then I have this really cool lady that's orange, so I thought she would be perfect on the outside. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is build my, I think I'm going to lay this flat. And I'm just going to build my collage-y thing. I'm going to start with this tea bag, and I'm going to put that on with glue stick. I like for tissue paper, for napkins, I like using glue stick because, I don't know, it adheres really well, and I feel like I can cover the whole thing with glue, where liquid glue, I can't make sure that all the parts get gluey. The only thing it does do is sometimes it will make the tissue paper a little, it almost like breaks it down. It gets a little soft. So I'm just going to stick this randomly on here. I don't really care where it goes. I just want to know that there's a tea bag on there. And it looks like that didn't stick, so we'll put a little more down here. All right, I think that's stuck pretty well. And then we've got this little bit of directions, and we've got this little bit, and then we're going to put her on here. So I think I want to ink this, so let's do that really quickly first. I want to make sure the edges of this really stand out. And I don't want orange. I actually never work with orange. It's just not my color, but there was a couple things I liked that tea can cover. And so I thought, well, I'm going to use orange, but I generally am not an orange person. And cover up, I didn't cut this very straight, so I'm going to make sure I cover up all that edge. And then we have a little bit of ephemera. I don't want to go way crazy. I could spend hours all the time doing ephemera. I do not want to do this on this, so I promised myself I am not going to. Promise, cross my heart, I am not going to do it. All right, I've already inked her. She looks like she could use just a little bit more. Just seeing a little white showing through. Got her off of a calendar that somebody gave me. So that was kind of fun to be able to, it's a Victorian calendar, and it had all kinds of Victorian people on it. Looks like my glue is almost out. There we go. And let's get her set up. I'm not going to glue her edges down, but I do want her kind of in place. So I've left the edges because I know I'm going to be tucking stuff under her. So I'm just going to stick her on here for right now and get an idea of where she wants to go to the edge. And then I'll stick these things under wherever I want them, like that. Oops, the T is upside down. And I think I want that a little further up, and I want this like this. And I got my tea bag in the background. I love that. All right, so let's see if I can get some more glue to come out. Looks like I need to refill my glue bottle. And then I actually have a couple of tea things that I'm going to try to stick in here just as little extras. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll be done. So this is really like a 10-minute project. Once you get your supplies collected, it takes a little bit to get the supplies collected. And once you cut everything, and I didn't even make sure my pages are the same size. They're just randomly, I knew that I didn't want them bigger than a certain size, but other than that, they are just randomly in there. There we go. Our cover is done. Love it. I do think I will ink it, but I'm going to ink the outside, but I won't make you watch me ink because that's really boring. All right, so we have some things to stick in here. I have this cute little teapot that I'm going to stick in there. And I've got some, this, I love this. This is like an old grocery list from a tea dealer, so that's perfect to put in here. I don't want to put too much stuff in here. Oh, that one's too tall, so I'm going to have to fold it. Let's see. That's good enough, and I think we'll just put one thing in the back. Oh, what do I have here? Oh, I've got this. This is kind of fun. Stick that in there. And I've got a teapot. Stick that in there. That's good enough. Oh, I've got a couple things over here. Let's see. I've got this. If I put that in there, no, let's see. What else do I have? I kind of like this one, so we'll do this one. We'll fold it and fold it so it goes in. And I kind of like her. Even though she's not Victorian, I kind of love her. So let's stick her in there. All right, that's all that. I'm not sticking anything else in other than my little tea pocket. All right, so excuse me for sniffing. I've got a cold. All right, the last thing we're going to do is do the closure, which is very easy. So you could put Velcro or something on here and just make that a flap, and then it would stay closed. But I wanted to do it like it was a, you know, like a tea bag. So the first thing I'm going to do, well, all right, for the tag, you are so lucky that I have done this now 6 times to figure out how to do this the right way, and you didn't have to suffer with 6 tries. It's really easy. I don't know why this has been so complicated for me. To do the tag, the first thing we're going to need to do is we've cut the hole already, so we're going to stick that aside. We don't need to talk about that. I really could use this soothing caramel bedtime tea, even though it's not bedtime, because this has been crazy hard to do. A simple thing. All right, put my soothing tea out of the way. What you're going to need, you are going to need, this is called friendship thread. It is what little girls make friendship bracelets out of. It's like embroidery floss, but it's twisted. And I like it for this particular project. You are going to, I used 12 inches. You may want to mess with this at least one time and see how long you want your tag hanging away from your tea bag journal. Let me explain a little bit. So here's my tea bag journal. I'm using 12 inches. You're going to take the 12 inches and fold it in half and line up the 2 loose ends. All right, so now I have a loop at one end and I have loose ends at the other. This is how far, let's do it this way so it shows on camera better. This is how far my tag is going to hang from my journal. So you might want it to hang longer. You might want it to be shorter. So 12 inches is going to make it hang 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 inches away from your journal. Okay? So that's what I'm using. If you think it needs to be longer, make it longer. All right. So we're folding this in half, and then we are threading it on our needle. So you need a needle that's big enough to accommodate this wide of a thread. And this is always a little challenging because this is really big thread. Let's see if I, and I tend to do one at a time. Getting 2 in there at a time is kind of hard, but usually one at a time works pretty well. I don't have my glasses on, which is really a bad idea. To be doing something so fussy and not have my glasses on. There we go. All right, so I got the 2 open ends through the eye, and I'm going to line them up again because I want them lined up. All right, now I'm ready to do my little thing. You're going to take this little piece of paper, and you've got your whatever you're going to use as your tea tag. All right, I cut this out of, I used a 1-inch circle punch. Okay, and then to make it look like I was fussy, I use these awesome scissors by Fiskars. They are called paper edges, and they look like that. And so I cut around this to make it look like I did fussy cuts. And you can see there, it's all cut out, which is really kind of fun. And then I just lightly glued the tops together because I did a front and a back, so I wanted them to still match up. All right, so that's what my tea tag is going to be. And I loved that flower with this girl, and then this is the back, which I like that too. All right, so this is my tag. The first thing I'm going to do is take my, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Take my little piece of paper, and I'm going to poke the needle in and back out again. And I left about a 1/2 inch. There's no rule of thumb about it. Just get it in there and out. And then we're pulling the loose end through. There we go. So our loose end is out. So here's my tag. Here's my end with the loop. That's going way down here. And here's my loop. It's open. I'm taking the needle off because I'm done with the needle. And I'm going to pull this just about till it's going to pop out. I've got maybe 3/8 of an inch there. I'm going to put some glue on here. Pin in the bottle. And I'm going to fold my threads over on the glue and glue them down. And then I'm going to flip it over. That's the benefit of art glitter glue, is it's almost instantly dry. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put a dot of glue on this side. Pull it through. Make sure that's glued. All right. Why did I do that? I did that because if you put just this string in the tag, if you pull on that 2 times, the string is going to come out of the tag. This way, it's really secure. It's not going to come out. All right. We're going to put the folded down edges glued up into the tag. So I'm going to take some glue. My poor tag has been glued like 5 times now, so it's all nasty inside because I keep gluing it and then realizing I'm doing it wrong and having to unglue it. So I'm just putting some glue on this side. Again, I've got the folded down string side to the top, and I'm going to slide it up in my tag and make sure that's glued down really securely. All right. And be mindful, I did this wrong, not wrong, which way you want your tag. So you might want your tag in realty, the tags are upside down. Because this is a journal, I decided to put my tag image right side up. So whichever way it goes, it's fine. I just made a conscious effort to make it right side up. And now we're gonna glue these 2 pieces together, and I really wanna make sure that I get glue on the string again. I want on my string, so I make sure that there's no way that string is just gonna pop out the first time somebody pulls on it. All right. Really, that's all there is to this. The fact that it took me 5 times to get it right is insane. But I made all kinds of little boo-boos trying to explain it. Made the string too long one time. Glued only 1 thread one time. It's actually a whole film of bloopers. All right, so now it's ready, and this is really simple. We are going to close up the journal. You're going to stick your thread in the hole and pull it through. You're going to open the loop and tuck it through. And there you go. Now you have your tea bag and your tea tag all good to go. All right. So let's do a quick run through of the journal so you can see what the finished, all the pages and everything looks like. We take the tag off and out, and we open it up, and we have this beautiful journal. And we've got the pockets here. This is a beautiful, I think it's one of our beautiful paper companies here that makes like wrapping paper, but I just, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. I have tea dyed papers. This is my little flip out that I showed in the beginning, so it flips out. And then I've got little tags in the tea bag, which I think is just fun. I used the tag to cover up a piece of paper from the other side that's coming out. So here's a Republic of Tea The other side of it's a label, which I loved it. So this is the whole color theme for this was based on this beautiful Republic of Tea wrapper. It's on a can. So that's the other side of it, and I then was able to make this whole sheet. So, and let's see, I used a piece of just decorative paper out of a journaling book. Let's see, anything else special in here? This is a printable from Victoria Designs. I tea-stamped a little bit. I got this. This is actually paper made from elephant poop. I love that because it's got this nice texture to it. All right, this is a little extra I did that I like to do is on my strings, I just glue things. Sometimes it's hearts, sometimes it's butterflies. This time it's tea tags. So that's fun. And I think that's about all the features of the papers in here. Oh, I love this. So this came out of a book that is called, I can't remember what it's called. Oh, Distinguished Leaves, I think is what the book is called. And it's a whole book about tea. And so I took that page out and was able to add it in here. So I like that kind of stuff in my books. All right, and then we have our back cover, and we close it up and fold it over, and we put our tea tag on it, which is lost. I don't know where it went sitting here. That's hilarious. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and this project. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for creating with me. This is Lisa, an Imagination Sisterhood Studio.